Let's get it.
I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, then you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.
Hey, shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Most I hope y'all is Wab. Shalom, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai Barakatham to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shema Alatham Bashim Yahushai to all the sisters. All right, this is Real Talk Revelations, like real time revelations, the show where I break down what's going on in the UK, what's going on all over the world. I break down these real time stories. You know what I'm saying? I give you the revelations. I give you the biblical perspectives in real time. I give you this live on TikTok every Monday, every Thursday from 6 p.m. till 7 p.m. Now, this episode, we got a hell of an episode. This episode, I know everybody's been hearing about how war is escalating, between Israel and Iran and Lebanon and everything going over there. Also, tensions is rising between Russia, Ukraine. Of course, that whole war's been going on for quite some time now. But now Russia, Vladimir Putin is threatening, the US and the UK for their involvement in their aid towards Iran. So we're going to break that whole thing down in the show. We're going to break down kind of where Putin is up to it, where Putin is up to with it. And then also, we're going to bring out what the Bible says about this, because all this what's happening now, this is prophesied. It's prophesied that wars will come when Christ is ready to make his return. This whole thing is prophesied. So listen, if you are a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native Indian man or woman, it's definitely important you get all the way right with the Most High while you still can. Get in this school. We are the ISUPK, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yahanna. You find the closest ISUPK to you, whether it's in the States, in Mexico, in wherever you are. In the UK, of course, I'm in the UK. We've got a school here, 394 Lodge Road, B18 5PW. You find the nearest ISUPK to you, and get yourself right. Fix yourself, so when Christ comes back, he might see you worthy of being saved. He might see you worthy of partaking in the salvation. All right. Now, without further ado, I'm gonna get into this first video. Of course, shalom to everybody that's in the line, in the live. Salakia, see Kayala always checking in. Jojo British, shalom. Emma DG, shalom, shalom. I see everybody in here. Kai, Red Hawk, Teacup, no sweat. Make sure if you're new to the live, make sure you follow the channel too. All right, we're trying to get these numbers up. Make sure you follow the channel, and we'll get this whole thing in. All right, so let me see. So first, I'm gonna start with a video. Now, this video breaks down how, what the UK and the US and the US's involvement has been in this whole Russia-Ukraine conflict, and now what Putin is saying and escalating, with regards to that whole situation. So we're gonna play this video.
Today, the Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary are in Washington, preparing to meet President Biden. They'll discuss whether to allow Ukraine to use UK and US-supplied long-range missiles to hit Russian targets not just in Ukraine, but inside Russia.
So basically, the US and the UK are having a discussion on whether they should allow Ukraine to use their missiles or their missile technology. So in the fight against Russia, not only will they be able to fight, Russian troops that have invaded Ukraine already, but these missiles have the range to be able to hit in Russia, right? So hit Russia directly. So that's the discussion that they're having. And that's why Putin ain't too happy about that. About the US and the UK getting involved to give Ukraine missiles that would allow Ukraine to actually hit Russia, right? Rather than at the moment they only are able to hit places where the Russians are within Ukraine, so they bombing their own land to get to the Russians. But with these missiles, they will actually be able to hit Russia itself. All right, so we're gonna play them.
as the Ukrainian president has long sought.
Але Путін та його спільники повинні
Putin and his accomplices must feel all the problems that war brings. The war must become significantly harder for Russia. This is the only way to make Russia accept that the war must be brought to an end.
тільки так.
The war must end in a just way based on international law.
So that right there, that is what's his name, Zelensky, something Zelensky. That is the prime minister of Ukraine. For anybody that doesn't know, he's saying he's basically trying to he wants aid. You know, he's requesting aid from NATO. You know, all these European countries, the U.S., you know, UK. Those are the kind of the biggest ones. Also Germany. You know what I'm saying, the likes of those European countries. And they saying they need all these weapons and all this military equipment in order to make the war hard for Russia, so that in the aims that he backs down. But Russia ain't gonna back down. Russia absolutely isn't gonna back down, because the Most High, the same way the Most High hard in Pharaoh's heart, the Most High is hard in Russia's heart. Where this you know, this thing right here, you know, this whole thing is prophesied between Gog and Magog. Now Gog is Russia. Magog means from Gog. So that is the countries that come from Russia. Now, for anybody that knows about the Ukraine used to be a part of Russia. So they would be what's known as Magog, right? So you got Gog fighting against Magog. This whole thing is prophesied in the Bible. So, you know, this ain't, you know, I don't think the war is finna end anytime soon. All right, so we're going to play on.
The war must end in a just way based on international law.
Ukrainian forces have used US-supplied HIMARS, which have a 48-mile range, to strike Russian military targets in Kursk inside Russia. The UK is now considering letting Ukraine fire air-launched Storm Shadow cruise missiles with a 155-mile range.
So they currently been using what's known as HIMARS missiles. Did it say who supplied them? I think it said the UK. Let me just backtrack a touch on this.
Range to strike Russian military targets.
Give me 1 second. We'll go back.
US-supplied HIMARS.
So the US, all right. So the US supplied these HIMARS missiles, which has allowed Ukraine to strike in, you know, kind of right at the border of Russia. All right, it's allowed them to strike there.
Which have a 48-mile range to strike Russian military targets in Kursk inside Russia. The UK is now considering letting Ukraine fire air-launched Storm Shadow cruise missiles with a 155-mile range.
And so now the UK is getting involved, thinking about supplying Ukraine with what's known as Storm Shadow missiles, which have a much higher range, over 3 times the range, so they can get even further into Russia. All right.
Across the border, while the US may now let Ukraine fire ATACMS missiles, which have an 186-mile range.
And the US, you know, considering letting them borrow, you know, these missiles that have an even further range, known as ATACMS, with a 186-mile range. Now you see, you know what I'm saying, this is the border. Y'all can't see my mouse, but you know what's highlighted in yellow, that's the range of where these missiles can hit. And you see it's highlighted Moscow, which is of course the capital of Russia, is getting real close to the capital of Russia. You know what I'm saying?
Into Russia.
If this decision is made, it will mean nothing less than the direct participation of NATO countries, the United States and European countries, in the war in Ukraine. This is their direct participation, and this, of course, significantly changes the very essence, the very nature of the conflict.
And so he's saying, you know, that's Putin, you know, saying, I'm sure everybody is familiar with Putin. You know, he's the leader over Russia, right? He's saying, okay, if the US and the UK are going to allow these bombs, and that's now a direct, he's seeing that as okay, now you're entering the war directly. Now you're an up, you know, now you're the opposition. You're giving Ukraine these bombs to fight me. Okay, well now you're basically, those are your bombs. It's basically used. You might as well send them yourself, rather than, you know, they're gonna supply it to Ukraine for Ukraine to use. You're saying you might listen. That's nah. If you do that, then that's going to drastically change the nature of this conflict. Meaning now we're going to set, instead of setting our sights on just Ukraine, now we set our sights on you. Since you providing Ukraine with all this aid, all these weapons, all these bombs to further, bomb my territory, Putin ain't taking that line down. All right, I'm gonna play on.
That not very veiled threat comes after, according to US and UK intelligence.
And when he says, and if I could, when he says, it's going to drastically change the nature of this war or the nature of this conflict, that means, if y'all get involved, is up. I'm aiming my missiles at UK and at the US, and we gonna see. We're gonna see if you wanna back. We have a phrase in the UK about back the beef. Like if you're gonna back the beef against Ukraine, you're gonna back the beef. I mean, with Ukraine, standing with Ukraine, then no sweat, no sweat. You just an up too. So Russia, Russia threatening the UK and the US.
Iran secretly sold around 200 ballistic missiles to Russia for use in Ukraine.
And even the whole Iran thing, there's a war between Israel and Iran. Iran and Russia, those two are paired together. So you got it's like a whole, it's basically covering the whole of the map. You got Russia partners with Iran fighting against Ukraine. You got Iran partners with Russia fighting against Israel. You got the US and the UK providing aid to Ukraine. And now basically they're going to get involved with the war against Russia. And then Iran is going to, they back in Russia. So they're going to war against the UK and the US. Now there's already, things we're going to get into it later on in the show, but there's already things that Iran are doing against the UK and against, I'm sure against the US also. You'll probably see it now, even with these whole protests and things like that. That is kind of part of, those nations starting conflict within those countries. Because a nation now, you have the UK, which, they strong when they all standing together. Well, I wouldn't even say strong, because our president is he's skilled in the art of war when he has high technology weapons. He's not actually skilled in the art of war. He's skilled in the art of pressing a button or building a drone so he doesn't have to do the dirty work himself, right? But now you have this nation divided. You have the divide and conquer tactic. Now the whole nation, there's conflict in the streets. You ain't got time to focus on now conflict with a whole different country. So we're going to get into that whole thing later on. I'm playing in this video.
The very public US and UK dilemma about the use of their missiles has taken on more than just military import. Today, the Russians said they've recaptured 10 settlements that Ukraine had taken in Kursk. They're trying to regain the propaganda and diplomatic initiative too, and make the British and Americans think twice before giving Ukraine license to pursue the war further into Russian territory.
So, he's saying, they've now recaptured 10 Russian, I'll call them strongholds for time's sake, rather than going back. It's recaptured them in Kursk, which is where they're fighting the whole Ukraine versus Russia war. It's basically saying that to say, okay, we ain't, y'all ain't winning this. We capturing this whole thing back. We're going to win the war against Ukraine. And if you want to get involved, then we'll see what happens with y'all too. That's basically what Putin's saying. Making Americans and British people think twice about, partaking in this war by providing aid to Ukraine. Russia takes that as a direct threat. That's a direct attack on Russia, because imagine you're in a fight with somebody, and then another person in the background, hands them a brick. Now, you can't, give this person a weapon and then tuck your hand and say you're not involved. Nah, you involved. You involved in this whole thing. You trying to give this person an edge up against me. No sweat. No sweat. I'm gonna pick up a brick. I'm gonna pick up 2 bricks. Now I got 2 bricks, one in each hand. Y'all gonna catch them bricks, is what Russia's saying. All right, so we're gonna play on in this video.
Lindsay Hilton. Well, let's go now to our Washington.
And of course, Salakia, with Iran backing, Iran is providing missiles as well to strengthen up Russia's military. So it's no light thing that Russia's turning his eye and focusing on the UK and the US. So what I'm saying, it ain't something we have to worry about too much We just got to be prepared for it. This war is definitely escalating, and you see it before your very eyes. All right, so just make sure we are prepared. Make sure we are serving the Most High. Make sure we're paying tithes. Make sure there's nothing, no skeletons we have hidden in our closet. Make sure we all the way right with the Most High. All right, let's go.
Correspondent Siobhan Kennedy, who's outside the White House ahead of Sir Keir Starmer's meeting with Joe Biden. Siobhan.
Well, Matt, the Prime Minister is due to arrive imminently for his one-on-one meeting with Joe Biden. It will be Keir Starmer's first official visit here to the White House. The fact that he's doing it now, chosen to come now, as opposed to waiting a week or so when he could have sat down with Joe Biden at the UN General Assembly in New York, where they would be together, underscores, I think, not just the importance of the special relationship between the UK and the US, but the importance also that Keir Starmer attaches to making an urgent decision around allowing Ukraine to use US and UK long-range missiles to penetrate deeper inside Russia.
Pause. But Salakia, so she's basically saying, Keir Starmer, which is the president, or what do they call him, Prime Minister Salakia over the UK, right? He went over to the US to meet with Biden, which shows that he's, they trying to make this decision quickly on whether or not they want to give aid to Ukraine and basically get involved in that whole war with Russia. Do we want to kick off the next Third World War? We'll see. We'll see what decision they made. I'm sure we'll see it in the coming weeks, coming months. I don't know how much time we have exactly, but y'all just be ready. I'd be absolutely ready. All right, we're going to play on.
That we know that Keir Starmer is arriving here erring on the side of wanting to give Kyiv the green light. He wouldn't on the way over confirm that decision, but nor would he rule it out.
And so they on the side of providing Ukraine with these missiles. So they on the side of entering into this whole war. All right.
But he very much wants and needs Joe Biden's blessing for this, for two reasons. Because Britain's Storm Shadow missiles that we heard about in Lindsay's package there, those missiles are reliant on US technology for their targeting, but also because Keir Starmer wants any such move to be made, any such decision to be made in coordination with the United States.
And do we have any idea, Siobhan, what Joe Biden will say to Sir Keir in the Oval Office?
We don't really. We know that when Joe Biden was asked earlier on this week on Tuesday whether or not he planned to lift restrictions, his answer was, we're working that out right now. He didn't rule it out either, in other words. Earlier today, I listened in to John Kirby, the National Security Council advisor, give his press conference to us journalists. He was obviously asked there about it, and he said this: there has been no change to our policy with respect to long-range strike capability inside Russia, which, as we know,
there's been no change to this policy. We getting ready to enter into this Third World War. That's basically the response from US and UK. They, it's up. The weapons is up. You know what I'm saying? There's a saying, people that handle guns, don't up your weapon. Don't up a gun unless you're ready to use it. They've upped their guns. Let's see if they're ready to use it. I think they are. I think Putin's ready to use his, and I think we're ready to enter this Third World War. The Most High is orchestrating this whole thing, getting this whole thing ready to blow up for that day of judgment, where nuclear warfare is going to be on this earth, and God's chosen people, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, will be delivered from our oppression. We getting ready for that time.
The US line is that they are against it because they are fearful of being dragged further into the war and provoking Russia. Worth noting, of course, that every time they've had those fears in the past about the provision of planes and missiles and tanks, that they've overcome those fears, and there hasn't been a great retaliation from Russia like the threats that it is making now.
So they saying, they've done this before. The US and UK, they ain't too pressed about it. Russia's made these kind of threats before, and nothing's really. They haven't had no real major war. No bombs have been dropped from Russia over here, so they're just like, he's probably bluffing. We just gonna continue to do what we're doing. That, you know, we'll see if it's bluffing. We'll see. We'll see what the Most High does. We'll see how the Most High hardens his heart and just makes him say, nah, we're gonna blow this whole thing up. We're gonna blow this whole thing up, because every nation, what they're fighting for really is just control over this whole earth. Right now, it's in the hands of America and, you know, Britain. Britain is, you know, more to the side. It's mainly America. Of course, America and Britain, they're joined together, so they kind of in joint rulership, I'd say. Russia, they want to own this earth too. They, you know, they ain't just gonna stop with Ukraine. You know, get Ukraine. They're gonna think, maybe, you know, maybe Poland. Maybe I'll take Poland too. You know what? Matter of fact, let's just start a whole war and let's just see what we can get. You know, that you know, that's what every oppressor, that's what every Edomite, you know, that's what's in his heart. You know, they talk all this talk about NATO and trying to be all, you know, diplomatic. Nah, their nature isn't about diplomacy. Their nature is about peace. Their nature is about war, and we're gonna see it. We're gonna see it. There's only so, you know, there's only so long the oppressor can hide that he is about war and bloodshed. There's only so long he can hide that nature. All right, we're gonna play on. I think we get to the end of this video.
Certainly, John Kirby says that it will be a topic for discussion, but expect no announcement today. Zelensky, of course, on his Twitter thread today, is urging for strong decisions off the back of this meeting.
Which I think is about to take place. We saw them all going in, Siobhan. Better hurry up. Thanks very much there.
So this is, you know, we getting ready for this Third World War. I'm gonna drop that video for a second. I'm gonna get into the Bible. Let's see what the Bible says about this whole thing. All right, let me share this word real quick. I'm gonna get Book of Mark, chapter 13 and verse 7. It says, "And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars." Now that's exactly what we hearing. We hearing about wars and we hearing about rumors of wars. You know, is the UK gonna get involved? Is America gonna get involved? Is the war coming over to the West? We're hearing about these wars that are going on currently. You know, you got Israel and Lebanon, they bombing the hell out of each other. You know, Gaza getting bombed up, Iran getting involved, Russia and Ukraine, they getting bombed up. US and UK getting involved, and all these, you know, Germany as well. All these European countries, all NATO, they getting involved in this whole thing to start World War III. That World War III is the rumors of wars. We have wars already, but that rumor of war, that's World War III. This whole thing just getting blown up, just blown to smithereens. That's the rumors of wars. But the Bible says, and this is Christ speaking, that's why you see it's written in red. Christ says, "Be ye not troubled," meaning blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, those that follow the Lord, those that are in the ISUPK and keeping these law, statutes, and commandments and waiting for Christ to come back to deliver us. He tells us to be not troubled. For such things must needs be, meaning this thing has to happen. In order for us to be freed, in order for us to be redeemed, this thing has to happen. It's been prophesied this way. All right. But the end shall not be yet, meaning it's, you know, it's not going to happen just yet. We still have to be patient. We still have to endure until the end. It ain't over yet. It don't go putting down your swords. Don't go, you know, and you'll see it, especially at this time, many people leaving the school. You'll see many people leaving the truth because the Most High is, you know, he clearing out who ain't really for him. He clearing out the people who ain't, you know, they ain't built to endure until the end. He might have used them for a time. You know, the Most High can use brothers to accomplish certain things, but these people were never meant to, you know, they were never meant to partake in the kingdom of heaven. All right, the Most High is removing them out of the truth so that you know, his true followers, the people that truly have faith and truly believe and keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, they can receive the kingdom of heaven. All right, so if you're a brother or sister that's getting weak and getting ready to leave up out of here, go ahead. Go ahead. No sweat. Lord be with you. All right. As for me and mine, you know, we gonna keep these laws, statutes, commandments. We will serve our God, serve our Father, and await for him to get us up out of here, man. I ain't, you know, Listen, don't get weak and don't drop your sword anytime soon. All right. For any brothers and sisters that, we go through things all the time, but you want to seek counsel. All right. Absolutely seek counsel, because if you leave this school, the Bible say, what's bound on earth is bound up in heaven. What's loosed on earth is loosed up in heaven. If you get loose from this school, the Most High ain't dealing with you, man. And in that day, you can, you can come running and screaming and, trying to find these brothers, but, you loose, man. You wasn't really about it. You need to endure until the end. I'm gonna get verse 8 more in it. So, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's what you're seeing right here. Lebanon against Israel. I broke the whole thing down. Everybody's warring against everybody. It's nation against nation. You even see, all these Muslim nations that within the UK, rising up against the British patriots and the far right. This time, third, you got all these, civil wars in the UK and in the US. Nation is rising against nation, and kingdom is rising against kingdom. And it says, and there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles, meaning there's going to be all sorts of famines. I don't know if y'all know, but there is a hunger crisis in the UK. There's an unprecedented amount of people that are dealing with hunger and hardship. You have all these earthquakes and hurricanes and all these natural disasters going on. It's been increasing and happening more and more frequently. These things are prophesied. It says these are the beginning of sorrows, meaning this thing right here. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of sorrows, meaning that day, it ain't, the day of judgment and the day of deliverance. It's not like your Christian pastor will have you believe. It ain't no happy clappy day where, the clouds open and a beam of light comes down and everything's so bright and glorious, and Christ just floats down and so, angelic, and peace is just on the earth. That's not how this thing is going to happen. It's going to be absolute war, nuclear warfare. The Bible says the sky is going to be darkened. It ain't going to be no, bright and wonderful and peaceful day. It's going to be wonderful, because you're going to wonder what the hell is going on. You're going to be wondering how the hell did things go so, so hectic so quickly. That's how it's going to be wonderful, but it ain't going to be like your Christian pastor tells you. All right. So we're going to drop that for just a moment. We're going to get back into the whole Russia on Ukraine thing, right? I mean, it's like Russia and UK and US. All right, I got this video. It's another on breaking down in more detail about the threat that Russia's making. All right, so I'm gonna share this video. Should be on the screen. Yep, there you go. All right, let me run this from the beginning. Let's go.
It's another warning, yet another nuclear warning from Vladimir Putin to the West. But this one is more specific than previous ones, though. So as President Zelensky was addressing the UN, President Putin here was addressing his Security Council about changing Russia's nuclear doctrine, which is the document that defines when and how Russia could use nuclear weapons. Currently, it states that they can be used.
Right. So just on that. So, they have this whole, they have agreements and rules of engagement, meaning there's certain things you can do in war and certain things you can't do in war. So Russia has what's known as a doctrine of nuclear. What did he call it? Let me run it back just a second. It's a doctrine,
which is the document that here was addressing his Security Council about changing Russia's nuclear doctrine.
The nuclear doctrine. Now, the nuclear doctrine basically sets out when Russia can use nuclear warfare, when he can, press that button to drop bombs on everything. He's now changed what is the requirements for him to be able to do that, or is put in petition or something. He's working on changing that, meaning that threat that he's made. He's made threats before, but he's kind of sat back and he ain't really followed through with them. Now, he's getting ready to change his policy. So this threat right here, this is serious. He means business with this, because he's seeing the US and the UK and Germany, all these NATO aligned countries helping Ukraine and giving them stronger bombs to bomb him. He ain't taking that lying down. He's gonna change his. We're gonna get into what the change in his his nuclear doctrine means and what it's going to do. All right, we're going to play further.
Which is the document that defines when and how Russia could use nuclear weapons. Currently, it states that they can be used if the security of the state is at risk, which is quite a nebulous concept, of course. Now, Vladimir Putin has said he wants to change that and be more specific so that to allow Russia to respond with nukes to an attack by any state using conventional weapons. So, for example, drones, missiles, and aircraft. And that's not all. He also said that Moscow.
So he's now changing it to be able to use not only nuclear warfare but also conventional, methods of warfare, being drones, tanks, aircraft bombs, all these sort of things we use en masse today. He's changing that to be anybody that attacks, Putin or attacks his state. And all, he's letting you know that he sees that if the US and the UK are going to give Ukraine these bombs to go deeper into Russia, he sees that as an attack. So he's letting you know, if y'all give these bombs, I'm changing my doctrine so I can return those bombs and any other conventional warfare, drones, missiles. They're probably going to start off with drones and missile strikes and things like that. But it's going to lead into this nuclear warfare. It's absolutely going to lead into nukes being dropped. All right, I'm going to play further.
Would consider any assault from a non-nuclear power that's supported by a nuclear power to be a joint attack. And you don't have to be a military genius to understand that he was...
And he's saying, you're going to break it down like he's saying that any non-nuclear nation, which would be Ukraine, who is currently warring against. Ukraine doesn't have nukes, but they're being backed by nations that have nukes. They're being backed by the US and they're being backed by the UK. So he's saying, any nation that attacks that doesn't have nuclear power but is backed by those with nuclear power, he's going to see that as a joint attack. So he's getting ready, to press that button. To open up that case with the big red button, to go ahead and press it.
You have to be a military genius to understand that he was referring there to Ukraine being supported by NATO. It was a very thinly veiled warning indeed. So why is he saying this now? It's all a response to this issue being mulled by the UK and the US still over whether or not to allow Ukraine to use Western weapons to strike deeper inside Russia. They still haven't reached an agreement on that. Russia is trying to redefine its red lines, which I think have become a bit blurred of late because previous threats from the Kremlin haven't been followed through on. For example, the West has supplied missiles, tanks and aircraft, F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine without any consequence from the Kremlin, despite the threat of retaliation. And there have been so many nuclear threats, loose nuclear threats from the Kremlin of late, that I think there's a sense they've started to lose their impact, started to lose their meaning. So this, I think, is an attempt to redefine these threats, be more specific, be more defined and be more tangible. But the fundamental question remains, and that is this another bluff from Vladimir Putin or is it for real?
You're saying the question remains, is this another bluff? Or is this for real? I guess we're going to see. I guess we'll see. We'll see when drone strikes hit the US and the UK. We'll see when things just start to explode. That's when we'll see. All right, now I'm gonna get another video. Now this is a way that Putin has been attacking the UK already and is going to attack even more. All right, so we're going to get into this story. This is a story that came out recently, I think it was about a day ago or 2 days ago now. The MI5, the head of the MI5, which is the intelligence agency, the spies, you think of James Bond, that's the MI5. They, the spies, and they go to different countries and, that whole thing, right?
It'll be clear.
Organization, the head of that organization said that Russia is on a mission to cause mayhem in the streets of the UK or in the streets of Britain. All right, they're currently and have been plotting on the UK, causing mayhem in our streets, and we're gonna get into how they've been doing so. I got a video, and then I'm gonna read up on the article a little, for a bit more information. All right, so let me share this video real fast. And let's play on in this. All right, give me 1 second. All right, let's go.
It'll be clear to you that MI5 has one hell of a job on its hands. The first 20 years of my career here were crammed full of terrorist threats.
So he's saying, you know, the MI5 has had one hell of a job on his hand. And this is his first 20 years in working in this job has been full of terrorist threats. It's been full of terrorist threats. All right, we're going to play on.
We now face those alongside state-backed sabotage and assassination plots against the backdrop of a major European land war.
So he's saying we now not only face all these terrorist threats, you know, from all these damn Afghans we bringing over to this country, from all these, you know, all these other nations of people which are, you know, in war or against the UK, you bringing the people over, what do you think is going to happen? But no sweat. Now, in addition to that, we're having things like sabotage and he says arson, sabotage, and more dangerous actions in the response to the war. He said, what's the wording that he uses? He says in the against the backdrop of a major European land war. And that war he's referring to is, of course, Russia versus Ukraine, which the UK is involved in. All right, so that he talks about assassinations and sabotage plots. All right, no sweat. We're going to play on in this video.
We don't balk at the challenge. It's MI5's job. Since the killing of Masa Amini in 2022, we've seen plot after plot here in the UK at an unprecedented pace and scale. Since January 2022, with police partners, we have responded to 20 Iran-backed plots presenting potentially lethal threats to British citizens and UK residents.
So he says since 2022, they've responded to at least 20, you know, Iran-backed plots that have been a lethal threat. So they, you know, Iran is trying to unalive people in the UK, whether that be through, you know, inciting violence in protests and things like that, or, you know, somebody with a backpack on a train headed to, you know, the London Eye or something like that. They've, you know, since 2022, they've intercepted 20, he says. Now, I have a feeling that the actual number is much higher, but, you know how this oppressor likes to keep things under wraps. You know, he's a liar by nature. So, you know, it's my hunch that it's a little bit more, but we, you know, we'll go with what he says. You know, we'll take his word for it for now.
As events unfold in the Middle East, we will give our fullest attention to the risk of an increase in or a broadening of Iranian state aggression here in the UK. The GRU in particular is on a sustained mission to generate mayhem on British and European streets. We've seen arson, sabotage, and more.
So he says the GRU, which is basically the Russians. You know, the GRU is the Russians. I think, what's it called? It says general, is essentially the Russian state, right? The GRU has had a specific attack. We're going to run that back.
To generate mayhem on British and European streets.
To generate mayhem on British and European streets. Okay, so there's tactics that Putin has been using, that Russia has been using to generate mayhem in our streets. And, you know, I look in my streets, I look in these streets, I see absolute mayhem. So, you know, I don't doubt him. I don't doubt him in what he's saying. All right, we're gonna play on to see, you know, what it is they've been doing, what it is they've been, you know, what it is they've been plotting and trying and, you know, accomplishing in the UK.
We've seen arson, sabotage, and more.
It says they've seen arson, sabotage, and more. Okay, no sweat. So arson, for anyone who doesn't know, is, you know, lighting things on fire, you know, setting fire. We've seen whole cities in the UK being set on fire. Okay, I think from what I've seen has been the East Indians, but, you know, Russia is in cahoots with Iran. So that very well could be, you know, the part of the whole situation. Seeing sabotage, okay, that's to do with, you know, he's probably sending spies over and relaying information, or, you know, infiltrating certain things in the UK. I no sweat. We're going to play on.
Dangerous actions conducted with increasing recklessness.
And he says dangerous actions conducted with increasing recklessness. Meaning, you know, they getting ready to just, you know, instead of being covert with it like our oppressor loves to be, I'm just going to start, you know, just causing just straight out terrorist acts. They, you know, Russia kind of done with being covert. They kind of done, you know, like we said earlier, he's changing his his what's it called, nuclear doctrine. Yeah, he's done with being covert and doing things a little sly. That's how he kind of does things. They always talk about Russia and infiltration and things like that. He's always kind of being low key though. Like you could never kind of prove it, right? But now it's being, done. These dangerous acts have been done with more increasing recklessness. We're gonna see how that unfolds in the UK. All right, just keep your eye on them streets, and we'll see.
And having precisely the opposite effect to what the Russian state intends, in driving increased operational coordination with partners across Europe and beyond. I'll finish here with the terrorist trend that concerns me most: the worsening threat from Al-Qaeda, and in particular from Islamic State.
So he's saying there's a worsening threat from Al-Qaeda, okay, which is a terrorist organization, and Islamic-backed states. Okay, you see a lot of those people in the UK right now. They're all in agreements with Allah. They worship a stone. They get ready to throw them stones and start stoning people. All right, no sweat.
Today's Islamic State is not the force it was a decade ago. But after a few years of being pinned well back, they've resumed efforts to export terrorism. The ISKP.
He says they've resumed efforts to export terrorism, meaning, instead of exporting goods and services, they exporting terrorism. So he's implying that, Russia and Iran and all these Islamic-backed, nations, they are a part of the reason why there's so many, protests and terrorist acts over here in the UK. And I mean, you see it. You see it here in these streets. It's increased dramatically in recent years, and it's no, of course, you have the whole Israel and Gaza conflict. You have that whole thing fueling it. Everybody gets up on social medias, and there's been a lot of discourse and a lot of things that heighten the tension. All right, you have a lot of that's been going on. So he's saying, they're exporting terrorism. All right.
Attack in Moscow was a brutal demonstration of its capability.
And he said something about attacking Moscow, which of course is the capital of Russia or something. I know it's in Russia. I don't know if it's the capital per se, but I'm assuming it's very important because they always mention Moscow. It's very important to Russia. All right, no sweat. Now, so we just read we just watched the video. We're gonna read a bit into the article to see if there's any more information. All right, we're gonna get into this thing right here. So, Russia on mission to cause mayhem on UK streets, warns MI5. So, of course, this is the video we just watched. It says Russia's intelligence agency has been on a mission to generate sustained mayhem on British and European streets, says the head of MI5. Giving his annual update on security threats faced by the UK, Ken McCallum, so that's the person that just spoke, said, called this Russia. Russian agents had carried out arson, sabotage, and more dangerous actions conducted with increasing recklessness in Britain after the UK backed Ukraine in its war with Russia. Says they also responded to 20 plots backed by Iran since 2020, although he added the majority of his work still mostly involved Islam extremists, followed by extreme right-wing terrorism. So a lot of their work they're doing to stop the chaos in the streets is to do with, of course, you got Islam on one side, and then you got the far right, your British patriots on the other side, getting ready to just, they get ready to bathe these streets in each other's blood. That's the work they've been doing to try and stop. Keir Starmer said this whole thing about, if you put anything even online about inciting violence or anything of that nature, you could end up with jail time. So, that's the work that they doing to try and stop the streets from erupting in absolute chaos. Okay, it says the complex mix of terror-related threats and threats from nation states means MI5 had one hell of a job on his hand. Okay, we're getting to this. It says young people were increasingly being drawn into online extremism, with 13% of those investigated for terrorism involvement under the age of 18. So, the young people under the age of 18 who you wouldn't usually suspect for terrorist acts, you usually expect it to be done by some person who's ready and done with life. All right, but okay, they're getting people that are younger and kind of go under the radar. That might be, you might be going to college or university with these people, and they ready to, they're ready to cause terrorism, absolute terrorist acts. Okay, he says a total of 43 late stage plots involving firearms and explosives to commit mass unaliving in the UK had been foiled since 2017. So since 2017, they've stopped 43 late stage plots, meaning they getting ready to be complete. They just needed to set the timer on those explosives, and they were set to commit mass unaliving in the UK. All right, and they said 43 have been stopped since 2017. Also, so like it's the water to the person that just donated or sent a gift. I appreciate it. I'm gonna read on. So counterterrorism work remains split between 75% Islamist extremism and 25% extreme right-wing terrorism. Okay, and there was a dizzying range of beliefs and ideologies MI5 had to deal with, he told a briefing at MI5's counterterrorism operations theater in London. Meaning there's so many different so many different, what's the word? Different things that are being said online and inciting different things, hundreds of protests being set up, damn near every day. There's a protest, all the time in these streets, and different things, everything just flying around on social media between the EDL, Islam, there's a lot of things going on in social media right now from both parties. So, he's talking about that's the main things they've had to deal with, all these, beliefs and ideologies, as they put it. All right. Then he says, we could skip about this part. We now face these. I'm gonna read it. The first 20 years of my career here were crammed full of terrorist threats. We now face these alongside state-backed assassination and sabotage plots against the backdrop of a major European land war, he said. The UK's leading role in supporting Ukraine means we loom large in the fevered imagination of Putin's regime, meaning, the destruction of the UK is on Putin's mind rent free. He's just thinking about how to destroy and cause absolute chaos in the UK. That's what's on his mind. And further acts of aggression on UK soil should be expected. So we should expect, what's happening or what's been happening in the UK, we should expect it to worsen. Y'all thought it was done. It's getting ready to get worse in these streets. Y'all thought it was bad already. Good night. It says the UK's current terror threat level is substantial, meaning an attack is likely. Okay, meaning they getting ready to, terrorist acts are going to be committed very, very soon. You're going to see it. You're going to see it very soon. So y'all should be, as you're walking these streets, be very vigilant. Keep your eye on a swivel. Keep your eye on all these nations from both the far right, meaning keep your eye on that so-called white man. Keep your eye on that oppressor, and keep your eye on these damn East Indians, even Somalians, anybody to do with Islam. You see a Kufi, you see a Mandress, be very aware. I'd advise to just get up out of that place. You just, you see a Mandress, just go ahead and get up out of there. You see, wherever they wear some, whatever. You so much as hear, they be playing that whatever prayer thing on the radio or whatever. You so much as hear that, somebody driving in their car, driving by with that on the radio. You just get ready to get up out of there, because the thing might be ready to blow up. All right, no sweat. I got about 10 minutes. All right, what I'm gonna do real quick, I'm gonna get through this last scripture I want to read. Right, I'm gonna get Joel chapter 3 and verse 1. Now this is what's getting ready to happen. This is what this whole wars and threats, wars and rumors of war, as we read in Mark 13. This is what's getting ready to happen. All right, Mark chapter 3 and 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, meaning Judah and Judah and Israel, the northern kingdom and southern kingdom, blacks, Hispanics, and native Indians, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. All right. So, the Most High is gathering all nations, not just, so-called Israel, Jewish man, not just Iran, Russia, UK, US, Germany, Poland, Belgium, all these countries, all these nations, they getting ready. The Most High is bringing them to this third world war in the valley of Jehoshaphat, which means, Yahweh will judge, God will judge, all right, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage, Israel. Now it says pleading right here, I pray y'all understand that it don't mean the Most High is begging for these nations to free his people. The Most High is going to destroy these people and break them into shivers and free his people. That's how black people get freed. We don't get freed by, being prayer warriors. We get freed by being actual warriors. And when the Most High is ready to destroy these nations, we should be ready to fight. We should be ready for war. All right. Whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Now, who is that but blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, man? We have been scattered across, the four corners of this earth. We in the Americas, we all over the Caribbean islands, we in the UK, we all over Europe, what I'm saying? We all in these different places, and they parted the Most High's land. They parted Jerusalem. They parted it. That's why you got Palestine and Israel. They parted it. Not the land belongs to neither of them. It belongs to neither the Jewish man, which is Amalek in the Bible, which is, people that come from Edom. It belongs neither to them nor these Palestinians. All right. They have parted the Most High's land, parted the land that does not belong to them. All right. And they have cast lots for my people, meaning they, they sold us. They sold us and, sold us for bronze, sold us for handkerchiefs and muskets and whatever. They sold us. They cast lots for our people and have given a boy for a harlot. There's all sorts of wicked things they did to our young children, our young boys and our young girls. These oppressors are damn monsters, man. Perverse by nature. They given a boy for an harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. No sweat. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? So all these nations, they've also played a part in our oppression. The Most High is saying, will ye render me a recompense? Meaning, if y'all taking a part in this, y'all gonna do something against the children of Israel? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I return your recompense upon your own head. Meaning, if you're gonna, try something against the Most High or do something to harm, blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, the Most High will return that upon your own head very swiftly and very speedily. I pray you understand. All right. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and have carried it into your temples. It's like you carried into your temples my goodly, pleasant things. Meaning they have stolen everything that belonged to us and that belonged to the Most High. It belongs to the people of the Most High. It belongs to the Most High. We had great big monuments. What I'm saying? We had a huge gold menorah. A menorah made of solid gold was in our temple. They went and took that, man. Now it don't belong to us no more. Now we as a people have nothing. We have no sort of wealth. We have no glory. We only have the crumbs that our oppressor gives to us. No sweat. There will come a time where our oppressor is begging us, and we only give him but the crumbs. All right, we're gonna gather. The Bible says gather the forces. The nations will bring in the forces, meaning their riches, into our land, and they will be handed to us. They will hand their riches over to us, and they will ask us for a crumb, the same way we have done in their kingdom in slavery and in oppression for over 400 years, man. It says, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. All right, in that time, we were sold into the Grecians. And this time we were sold into the Europeans. We were sold by them damn Africans. What I'm saying? Unto all these different people that we might be moved far from our border, far from our homeland. Now, we don't even know where our homeland is. We've never seen it as a nation. What I'm saying? We're far from it. Over there in the Americas, it's far from Jerusalem. It's far from Israel. Over in Europe, we far from our homeland. All right. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. All right, it says, no, I will raise them up. I'll raise them up out of the Americans, I'll raise them up out of the Caribbean islands, out of the UK and Britain. All right, and will return the recompense on your own head. Now let's see what that recompense is being returned. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people afar off. The same way we were sold to a people afar off, your children are going to be sold to a people afar off. That's justice. Black people have never received justice for slavery. We will receive justice in this day, for the Lord hath spoken it. You know, when the Lord says something, it's going to happen. There ain't no if and buts or maybes. There ain't no, maybe if I get, real strong with nuclear warfare, I can stop it. The Lord has spoken it. I pray you understand. Verse 9, it says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. This is what we proclaim among the Gentiles. We go out of camp, we go out to these events. And this is what we say, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Meaning, as we getting ready to head into this third world war, you tell this oppressor, y'all get ready for war. Yeah, get your strongest warriors, get all your weapons of warfare, you know what I'm saying? Get it all ready. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about, thither cause thy mighty ones to come down. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. All right, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So as all these nations are ready to, they get ready for the third world war, they're going to be gathered into the valley of Jehoshaphat for the Lord to judge those heathens. They have never received judgment for the hand they have played in the absolute destruction of blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians. They've never answered for having black people strung out on drugs. They've never answered for having our women unaliving their own children. They've never answered for that. They've never answered for selling us to the oppressor. The oppressor have never answered for having us in oppression and in chattel slavery and, unaliving us wrongfully, convicting us wrongfully, all these things we faced. They've never answered for that. The Most High will judge them. He says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Meaning that judgment they receive, the harvest is ripe. All right, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Meaning this day right here, you hear these rumors of war, that's the day. And it's near. It says the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw in their shining, meaning the whole sky is going to be dark and dreary. It's not going to be no bright, sunny day where, everything's white and glorious. The sun and the moon will be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw in their shining. There's going to be very little light in that day. It's going to be a dark day. It says the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake. They will shake when them bombs drop. The heavens and the earth will shake. You know how when bombs drop, there's a ripple through the air. Sonic blasts. Both the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. So shall ye know that I am the Lord your God, dwelling in Zion. Meaning in that day you'll know the Jewish man is an imposter, and the Most High dwells in blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. All right, in Zion, in my holy mountain, then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. So then will Jerusalem be holy once again. Then shall the true inhabitants of that land be there, and that Jewish man will be nowhere to be found. Those Palestinians will be nowhere to be found. Those strangers won't pass through our land anymore, unless it's to bring in all their riches. All right. And it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and a fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim, meaning we are going to be blessed and we are going to flourish. says, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. Edom is your so-called white man. All his kingdoms, all his nations is going to be a desolate wilderness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land. They're going to receive judgment. But Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation. For I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord dwelleth in Zion. All right? That's what's going to happen. That's how Blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians get justice from our oppression, and that's how we get freed from our oppressor. All right? And with that, that is my show. You know what I'm saying? The water for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all tune in on Monday again, 6 till 7. All right, for the next episode. And with that, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Barak and Tham to all the brothers, and Yahweh Shema Allah Tham Bahashem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. All right, shalom.
Let's get it. I just float with it. Fuck what you did, I'm at your throat with it. You can learn something, take a note with it. Dedicated my life, I took an oath with it. For the blood of my brothers, we don't do no switching. I run with who I run with, ain't no clicking. Try me, do you done with no decision. Lead a scene like a Mack truck with 4 collisions. Polls everywhere, but they ain't gon' vote dissing. Coming at you live and direct, I don't do no dissing.